So we're using the scorecards from Lisa, sample 1,000 words, and we're pretty generous. We do 95%. If you have 95%, you pass. I know a lot of companies that are a lot stricter than that. We're also starting to look at the deliver turnaround time. So if your vendor promised you, we're going to deliver this date, and it doesn't come, I'm taking notes now. Before I was like, oh, too bad. Now I'm taking notes. The last one is interesting. And I heard that from a guy from Dell. His name is Wayne, and I can sort of take a pulse of how the quality is going just by the number of phone calls and emails that I get with complaints. So you sort of know you're doing well or not, but I never really wrote it, I never really had the habit of writing it down and counting. Now I'm starting to count. So I know I'm in a good month when, I'm not getting any complaints. So I think it's somewhat important to take notes of this. If people are quiet, nice. They're starting complaining too much. And even though we're not measuring it yet, vendor responsiveness is important and can affect how we view quality. So what we talked about before, the difference between how buyers and vendors view quality. Some of the cool things that we're going to be able to get from the quality scorecards, and I think they are important because if you really want to talk to executives, if you want to get money to do things, you need to show them numbers. All they care is graphs, numbers, show me what's going on. Just saying it's important, or you have to show them numbers. So that's why we're being more diligent about collecting data and putting them into some meaningful way to show our executives. We can get an overall performance of this particular vendor. We can look at how they're doing on a project level. We can look at each language, how they did, and we can also compare them among the other vendors. And it's not that we're trying to be mean to the vendor or anything. It's a way to look at the end of the year, all this data that we collect, and we can say, look, this is how much you grew from the beginning of the year when we're starting to measure, and look where you are now. You've passed everything, and there's a huge improvement. So we can give real feedback to the vendor because we're collecting this now. One cool thing that I think we did is, this was our normal workflow. It's, I cut some things here, but vendor A did translation, editing, and proofreading. Then we had internal reviewers doing the client review. Then implementation of changes, QA, content download, and then it was going to be developed, web page development. This is for web pages, by the way. We have different workflows depending on the type of content. But these people here, I know that some companies have them, that have linguists on board, and then all they do is review of content. But most companies, it's people that work in the company, have other jobs, other day jobs. And then as a favor, they will review content for you just because they speak the language. Their job is important, but they are a huge bottleneck for us. So, and we were having, we have a huge increase of volume. Our time to market needs to be faster, and we couldn't deal with that anymore. So the solution was to do what a lot of other companies already do, which is do the vendor-to-vendor review. So what changed here is that instead of using the client review at the beginning of the translation, we put them down here, and I'll show you what changed as well. The problem with this workflow is that if you have reviewers that are very hands-in reviewing the content and they care, if you wait that long for them to look at your content, you might be very surprised. They might tell you, oh my gosh, this is a horrible translation, and go back to the motherboard, the mothership. We can't take this. Start from scratch. So we cannot afford, that would delay too much our project. So the solution was to do samples. And what we do is in the beginning of, on the first stage, we get samples and we give it to our internal reviewers, the same people that will be working here. And we also do during the review time. If there's any problems that they spot during this time, everything stops. They need to adapt the style. They need to make the change so that there's no surprises when we get here. And then when we get here, we get a better result because this is all in Contest. There is a web staging environment. Before they were looking at the translation and the bilingual files because we don't have a content management system. I'm sorry I said that out loud. But we don't. And it's not my fault and I can't do anything about it. And I've tried, believe me. But because we don't have one, we have a TMS. But because we don't have a content management system, there is no way we can hook up our TMS in order for them to see things in Contest. So all they see is the bilingual files. And there's a huge difference in seeing a web page and then seeing the bilingual files. So I think we solved two problems. We no longer have the bottleneck, and now there's really doing a reviewing contest. So I think that increased a lot the quality of what we do. We're not there yet, but quality starts at the source. If you start with caca, you end with caca. There's no way around it, right? So we want to influence, we want to go as upstream as possible. We want to start going to meetings at the beginning of the product lifecycle. Right now, it's changing. I see a huge shift this year. But right now, there's a wall here. They throw to the magic box, boom, we translate, and it's back to, all this media that we put out there. So we want to influence more. We want to be more upstream. I think that's important. We want to have the tools, like altering tools to control more our source, and and we need to make them understand that the quality of the source needs to be there, and they can't just throw things to us that are not finalized, that hasn't been truly reviewed, because if you have one mistake in the source, then it multiplies by all the language that you translate. And really take care of your quality. I even like to eat in this restaurant.
We can take just 2 questions, okay? Then we'll have plenty of time at the end. Hi, thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to ask you, if for your quality control, do you measure at all how your users perceive, your web users perceive your quality? Do you have any process to get feedback from them? Or is just the quality according to linguists only?
We only do that for the .com to see how users like our websites, but it's all in English. We have nothing for the international sites.